Now, when the apologists for the Iraq War stopped lying about weapons of mass destruction, they changed their rhetoric and they said that the invasion is still a good thing because at least we got rid of that awful dictator, a feat which the Iraqi people themselves could never have achieved. Now, the recent history of Romania suggests that that simply isn't true. You see, Romania had their own tyrannical egomaniac of a dictator, a man called Nicolae Ceausescu. Now, in the 1980s, when many Romanians were literally starving, Ceausescu ordered that that palace be built for him. It's one of the biggest buildings in the world. It's impossible for my cheap camera to begin to capture the scale of it. And in addition to the floors that you can see above ground, there are many below ground. I've been inside there on a previous visit to Bucharest, and I can tell you that it's decked out with the most expensive marble concourses, chandeliers that weigh tons, unimaginable amounts of gold leaf and so on. Given the circumstances in which it was built, it is truly monstrous, and that was just for Ceausescu himself. He was going to build another palace for his wife, but his plans were interrupted by the events of December 1989. Discontent with Ceausescu had started to crystallise into a number of massive strikes and demonstrations, culminating on the 20th of December with 100,000 people occupying the centre of the city of Timișoara. Their slogans were, "We are the people, the army is on our side, have no fear, Ceausescu will fall." In response, Ceausescu ordered his security forces to round up 100,000 people to demonstrate their support for his regime. The people were ordered to come to this square and listen to Ceausescu make a speech from that balcony on the building behind me, condemning the uprising in Timișoara. At first, the front few rows of the renter crowd obediently applauded Ceausescu's wooden rhetoric, but then a few brave sections towards the back started to boo and hiss and heckle. The mood changed completely, and a bewildered Ceausescu ordered his security forces to attack the crowd. Running battles between demonstrators and the security forces spread across the centre of town. Demonstrators built barricades near the university on the road over there, and many protesters were shot here in full view of tourists and journalists staying at the Intercontinental Hotel. But the people weren't intimidated. Instead, thousands of workers and students started to make their way to the centre of Bucharest. Still oblivious of the scale of his own unpopularity, Ceausescu tried to make another speech from the balcony of that building behind me on the morning of the 22nd. But by now, the revolution was in full swing. Ceausescu was forced to flee the building by helicopter from the rooftop, only to later be arrested, tried and executed. Now, the system that Ceausescu presided over is often confusingly called communist, same as Tito's in Yugoslavia and of course Stalin's in Russia. But a more helpful phrase is state capitalist. That is, a bureaucratic state exploits the workers and oppresses the people in order to accumulate the profit required to compete with other capitalist countries. Now, the revolution got rid of state capitalism but replaced it with free market or neoliberal capitalism, and that system too has failed many of the people of Romania. A Romanian once said to me that under Ceausescu people had money but the shops were empty, whereas under capitalism there's produce in the shops but nobody can afford to buy it. You see, the new government, keen to rebuild a country wrecked by what I've called state capitalism, went to the International Monetary Fund to borrow some money. What the IMF said is what they always say, that we'll only lend you the money if you restructure your economy and society in such a way that Romania becomes attractive for foreign investors and big business. And sure enough, there are now affluent parts of Bucharest and a small but very visible layer of very rich people. But as is so often the case, what's good for the rich is bad for the poor. Since the revolution, many Romanians have faced unemployment or cuts to wages and to welfare provision, leaving many of them wondering whether the revolution was in vain. But the people of Romania should be proud of their revolution. It provides an inspiring example of how ordinary people can overthrow dictators, and it was a step forward for democracy. The only thing is that in Romania, as with everywhere else we visited, there are several more steps which still need to be taken. I'll see you soon.